Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast. It's your one-stop shop for all things European football. Tonight we talk Inter, we talk Real Madrid, we talk everything in all four of Europe's elite. Stay tuned, it's the Football Hipsters podcast. Hello and welcome to this week's Football Hipsters podcast. I am your host, Kris, and we are thin on the ground tonight because not one is missing, but two hipsters are missing tonight. It's just me and John. Evening, John.
Good evening, mate.
It's like the rats. They're running away from the sinking ship. That's what it feels like.
No,
we're not.
People are going to start talking about me and you always hanging out together.
It is worrying. I think between us, we've done like 5 pods in the last week together. It's
like that.
Quite concerning, isn't it? But yes. Anyway, reasons for people being missing, basically. Drew is still on his extended break, which we know about from last week. Tom has had some unforeseen circumstances pop up. He is fine, but his left leg is still stuck in the jelly. So once that's released, I'm sure he'll be back. But no, in all seriousness, Tom will be back. He's just unable to make tonight. So that means I get to bodge La Liga and John gets to bodge the Bundesliga. So if that ain't a ringing endorsement for this podcast, I don't know what is. Right, let's jump straight in, John, shall we? Let's get straight underway and waste no time. We're going to start in Italy this week with you, and it's this week's Serie A. Right, John. Now, I was going to start in reverse order and work our way sort of forwards, backwards, but I've decided, no, to hell with that. It's a two-man show tonight, so I'm throwing the doors open and going mad. I'm going to start with the biggie, the Derby d'Italia. I shall just let you tell our lovely listeners what happened.
Yes, Inter hosting Juve, one of the biggest games of the season, certainly the biggest so far this season, and it was brilliant. Had everything I loved about Serie A in it. Sending off, great tackles, good goals, great defence. Just really pleasurable to watch. But the reason I enjoyed it more than anything else is because Inter actually won. First time we beat Juventus in, I think it's 4 years. It was a really impressive performance. Both teams came into the game on a bit of a low, Inter more so than Juve. Inter obviously suffering that embarrassing defeat on Thursday night to Beersheva, and Juventus disappointing against Seville in the Champions League. But yeah, first half was fairly close run. Inter had a little bit more possession, I thought, played a little bit better than Juve. There was 2 chances to both sides. Khedira probably should have scored in the first half, found himself free in the box with a header, but didn't get any power behind it. Icardi had a great scrap with Chiellini that the referee let go ahead, and it was just 2 really good, powerful players battling against each other. Icardi came out better and whipped in a great shot that just came off the post. And then Pjanic made his one sort of notable contribution in the game, just clipping the outside of the post as well for Juve. When at half-time, I was quite happy. Came out second half, much the same. Inter still in control and completely against the run of play. Juve score. Lichtsteiner getting in, just sneaking in front of Davide Santon, who up to that point had a really good game, and fullbacks have been really contentious all season for Inter and have been last season as well. So it was a bit disappointed, but Inter immediately recovered. Mauro Icardi, who'd scored all the goals up to that point for the team, got himself on the score sheet again, really good header, and then set up Ivan Perisic, who I was just berating not moments before for taking on a chance instead of crossing the ball. But yeah, Icardi set up for Perisic for a nice header in and finished 2-1 at the end. Really impressive performance by Inter, superb throughout the team, defensively very solid. The forwards all interchanging positions, pressing at the right times, and De Boer really needed this result, because there was talks after the Beersheva result that if he got a whooping in the Juve game, he may have been out of a job very quickly. So great performance for him. Disappointed for Juve. Couple of key players really didn't perform in the game, but nonetheless can't take anything away from Inter.
No, much needed result, and I, like you, was tuned in and enjoying every minute. As you say, it was almost predictable that Juve would get in front after Inter had dominated for long periods. Second half, in particular, were just so strong, so good in that second half. A couple of things I just want to pick up on with you: the Icardi cross for the Perisic goal, wasn't it? Just the outside of the foot to get that much sort of accuracy as well as speed and the awareness to take the touch first and then swing that across. That was absolutely divine, wasn't it, from the centre forward?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk after the game that Icardi sometimes criticised for not creating enough chances for other players. He's not typically that kind of striker, but I can't remember who it was. I'll have to try and find the tweet and I'll put it out. But someone did a great stat showing him against sort of the other big names from around Europe and how many chances he can create and assists he's got. And he actually fares quite favourably against all the other big names. And he's always been a very hard worker, but yeah, just that outside of the boot sort of little scoop dink for Perisic, just perfectly placed, really good assist. And he worked really hard all game. It was a proper captain's performance. I mean, Juve won't be too worried. You think back to last season, they obviously suffered a lot of defeats and didn't start great. This season they started much better, but after Sevilla and then this game, it's not fantastic. The one worrying thing was Dybala had a very off game. He was probably Juve's worst player, which really is saying something. Alexandro and Asamoah were fantastic for Juve. They were easily their best two players. But the real worry was Pjanic in midfield. Very much played within himself, didn't really try too much, and looked a little bit uncomfortable in that anchor role in midfield. So Juve fans will be pleased to see that Marquisio is just rejoined training now. So the sooner they get him back, the better.
Yeah, well said. And he said anchor, listeners. And the run from Icardi as well, where he outpaced, I think it was Bonucci. That was just like raw power. I love that. Love seeing players do that. And the final thing, just on Juventus, is as you say, they've got nothing to worry about per se, but do you think it was a bit of a backfire from Allegri? Left out Higuain, as you say, Pjanic not performing. Dybala seems like a player who's not happy with life right now, maybe. Do you think there's any sort of signs of cracks, or is it just settling all these new players in?
I don't think massively. Benatia went off injured early, and Barzagli came in and looked it wasn't bad, but obviously just looked a year older. He's very much the wrong side of 30 now. Pjanic definitely isn't quite working yet, and Dybala just had an off game. He hasn't scored yet this season, but he has been involved in a lot of goals. It was just a very, very good performance by Inter. Juve were just outplayed on the day. I think Marquisio will be a huge help. The non-inclusion of Higuain was strange, I must admit. Juve looked like they came to sit back and sort of hit the long balls up to Mandzukic, which I suppose makes sense if you don't want to play Higuain. And when he came on, to be fair, he almost scored straight away, just putting a header just wide, and he did make a difference to him. So I don't think you can question Allegri too much after what he's done at Juventus. But yeah, there is some talk about his selections at the moment.
Yes, questions to be answered, but we'll leave the Derby d'Italia there. Actually, no, we won't. We'll ask one question just before we move on, because we did get a question that was specific to this game, so it seems sensible to ask it now. It comes from our pal Shaka-esque, I should say, at Shaka-esque. Inter still have issues despite the win for Juve. Will the fans plus the board remain patient with De Boer? Or I think his tweet prefixed to Dr. Boer, which is brilliant. Do you think that's a fair comment? I mean, there was a lot of speculation. You mentioned it on the pod on the Satchel in the week that De Boer was under pressure for this result. He got the result, but I thought he got the performance as well, and that was more important almost than the result. And do you think that lifts the pressure, or a bad result next week, is it all back again?
I mean, you never know how much truth is in those sort of reports anyway. It could have been more the media putting that pressure on him. There is always pressure at Inter Milan, and there has been for a long time, but I think he was always going to be given a certain amount of time. The 4 months that he asked for, he was never going to get that. I mean, if he really wasn't performing by then, it's terrible. But the performance they put in was fantastic, and they are now only 2 points behind Juve. So, he really has turned things around. If he can take those sort of performances and get them more consistently, he won't have a problem.
Yeah, agreed. Right, let's move on to another one then, and let's look at the Serie A leaders, which are Napoli, who've they found a new hero, haven't they? I did wonder who the announced chappie, whose name escapes me, we'll call him Dave. I wondered who he would sort of jump on with the new Higuain chant, as it were, and it seems like Milik and co are making his job easier because goals from all over the pitch. They seem to be able to outscore teams even when they don't play well. And as I say, top of the table, they look impressive, don't they?
Yeah, had a really good start to the season. Milik, who came on in the second half for Gabby Adidi, who looked very upset when Milik scored his goals.
Just a bit.
He's done really well. I said a couple of times, I wasn't impressed with him in the Euros, and Drew said how good a player he is, and just give him time, and he's proven it. 6 in 5, I think it is for him now, something like that. Callejon with the first, one of those perfect runs he does from the wing. Insigne, lovely ball. Must say that Simone Verdi got a cracking goal for Bologna though, to make it 1-1. If anyone's seen Xhaka's goal or Jordan Henderson's as well, was another rocket this week. There was quite a few, wasn't there, from all around the leagues. Simone Verdi certainly got hold of one, and Pepe Reina had no chance. But yeah, 2 goals from Milik. His first one with his very first touch of the ball, beautiful ball from Hamsik, and he just took it first time, flick over the keeper, really good. He's doing great there, and if he carries on like this, they really will love him. The improvement and consistent improvement from Callejon as well has been really important to this team. The only thing that does worry me about Napoli is that it appears Naples is the place where haircuts go to die, because you've already got Hamsik, and Insigne now has gone, Maxi Lopez with his hair. He's gone Enzo Amore, for anyone who watches WWE. Have a look at the tweet I put out. It's eerily similar. Yeah, just bleach blonde. Yeah, with this thick black beard, and but he was fantastic on the day as well, the little man from Naples. So yeah, Sarri's starting to really get some decent performances in, and obviously with Juve dropping points, it's perfect for Napoli. Because you always want to be in front and have Juve chasing you, not the other way around, because you're never going to catch them otherwise. But fantastic performance.
Yeah, I again concur. I watched this game, and they do look impressive. And I wonder, we say it every season, could it be their year? Just wonder. The final game I want to touch on in a bit more detail is Sassuolo, who the Nero Verdi. They're having quite the start to the season again, aren't they? A brilliant victory midweek in the Europa League, a 3-0 victory over Bilbao, which I don't think anyone really saw coming, not that comprehensively. Berardi's been out injured, yet they're doing it without him, and another impressive performance and another win this weekend.
Yep, 2-0 win at home to Genoa against a very, very good Mattia Perin for Genoa in goal. He was absolutely superb. It's really impressed me how well they've done with the fact they've got European competition and Serie A, and they genuinely are fighting on both fronts. At the moment they're 11th, but that is down to the points deduction, which they are appealing. If they get those points re-awarded, they're up to second place. So technically they're second at the moment. They're above Juventus. It's really amazing how they're doing it on that tiny budget. De Frel's doing great. Politano as well. And as you say, no Berardi in that side. It's so impressive.
I think I've said on this podcast a long time, I really like De Frel, but as you say, players have stepped up because they let go of Sansone, wasn't it, that left?
Yes, yeah.
To go to Spain, and they seem to have replaced him well, and they just seem to be clicking in the right areas at the right times. And that third kit, I know I always bring up kits, but the one they're wearing for the Europa League is very tasty. I really like that. Yeah, so good old Sass. Okay, results and scorers for the other games then.
On Friday night, Samp lost 1-0 to Milan. Another goal for Carlos Bacca there. Lazio finally got their season underway. Nice, comfortable 3-0 win at home to Pescara. Udinese lost 2-1 at home to Chievo. Cagliari getting a 3-0 win at home against Atalanta. Really impressive. Crotone got their first point of the season. 1-1 at home with Palermo. Unlucky not to get all 3 points. And Fiorentina beat Roma 1-0 in the late game on Sunday night.
Good kit as well on display in that game. Did you see that Roma third kit?
The orange. I don't know what it is. Yeah, that one I like. I don't know why. For some reason, I like that. I
like it. It's very Fanta Solero lolly, isn't it?
It's a bit reminiscent of Barca's one they had a few years ago. It's got that kind of yellow into orange kind of fade thing going on, isn't it?
Yeah, I do like it. Big fan of that, must admit. Although black numbers would look better, but that's just my generic pick on. Do you want to give us just not so much points wise, but just a brief overview of the table?
Yeah, at the moment, Napoli, Juve, Roma are the top three. Chiesa up in fifth, very impressive. Inter sixth at the moment. As I say, Sass are down 11th, but if they get those 3 points back, they'll be level on points with Juve. Down at the bottom, Crotone, no surprise, Palermo, Atalanta, and Empoli at the bottom four.
Oh dear, poor old Empoli.
I should also mention as well, Joe Hart made his home debut for Torino. Big support out for him, lots of signs and stuff. Was very well appreciated. Didn't have a lot to do in the game, but there's one big sort of save he had to make. He did it very well. Got a big applause from the crowd and passed the ball out perfectly. So good home debut for Joe.
Well done, Big Joe.
And they got his name right.
And they got his name right, yeah. Well done, John Hart. And in the absence of news, there's a midweek fixture list, isn't there? Is there any games that really take your eye in the midweekers?
Yeah, Tuesday night, Milan-Lazio is the standout one for the midweek fixtures. All the other games are played Wednesday evening. And as for this weekend's, just having a look through, my pick is probably Torino at home to Roma. That is a Sunday 11:30, so you can watch that one in bed as you get up, if you're lazy like me.
Yes, it's always a struggle. See, I'm always managing teams, so I always miss the Sunday morning game. But no, I will take a look at that one because that could be quite spicy. That one.
Yeah, it should be good.
Now we're going to shift gears, and I'm going to attempt to turn to Tom as we go all things Spanish, and it's this week's La Liga.
Right, on to this week's La Liga. Apologies in advance, Tom, as me and Kris completely butchered this section and pronounced everything wrong. We will start off with Real Betis versus Granada. A lovely Desmond, for everyone who knows or enjoys a 2-2.
Yes, I know. I fully confess I didn't see this game live. I did see a few from La Liga this weekend. This was one I didn't, and I probably should have done. It's the first time Granada have looked decent all season. Tom was saying, and Cancelo got the individual goal cutting inside on the right hand side, and he scored into the bottom right corner. I should say Carcela, not Cancelo. He showed why he's been a good buy. He came from Benfica in the summer. And he set up the Bueno goal, another Portuguese league edition, who finished well for the other goal. Algeria, not the country I should stress, got Betis back into the game before half time with a well directed header. Vezo was sent off for a second yellow card for Granada, and they kind of fell apart. Algeria got his second goal of the game to level it up.
Is it Algeria or Allegria?
I
think it's Allegria.
It might be Allegria. I've pulled a Danny there, haven't I? It's a very small font that Tom's typed here. Damn you, Tom. I think you are absolutely right, Allegria. Yes, very, very good shout. Sorry, listeners. Yes, but Granada had a penalty after Adan didn't foul, according to Tom. But Ponce misses the pen. So what a Ponce. And Boga with the follow-up. Mendy blocked it, and Ponce's third attempt was off the line in a great game. So it sounds like a bit of a thriller, to be fair. There was a red card for Dani Jimenez in the 85th minute as well. But it ended 2-2. Good result, I would suggest, for Granada away from home, more than it would be for Betis, who seem to be still in that little transition period. It's hard to judge, I suppose, at this start of the season. But yeah, nevertheless, a thriller, a Desmond, a 2-2.
Yeah, difficult to take that. Granada probably would have taken a point, but then getting the penalty late on, they would have hoped to maybe have nicked the other two as well. But decent result. Let's move on to Villarreal against Sociedad. Villarreal have one of my favourite players of all time playing from now, one Alexandre Pato. How did they get on?
Alexandre Pato. Yes, they picked up a lovely victory, actually. A lovely little victory. I suppose every victory is lovely, but a 2-1 success over Real Sociedad, and a certain Sansone got both goals, John. 2 in 3 minutes, 22nd and 25th minute goals, and that secured the victory. Obviously, there was a goal back, which we'll come on to in a second, but he won a penalty after being brought down the box by Rulli, but Pato actually struck it wide. So it could have been even more of a larger margin, but Sansone put them well up after being put through by another former Serie A player, Roberto Soriano, who was at Sampdoria, from memory. I think it was.
Yes.
And Sansone then he went on to beat sort of Xhaka's goal with probably a goal of the season goal of the season contender from 52 metres out, apparently.
Blimey.
Woof. So there you go. That's one to look up. Sociedad worked a good goal back from in for the right-hand side. It was Yuri Berčić across Asensio with the goal. So that got them back into the game. Josia was sent off for Sociedad on the 90th minute, largely, so it didn't really matter. And Villarreal's third win on the bounce, so they seem to be back on track. And Tom's just put a note here saying maybe worth asking John what his thoughts are on Soriano and Sansone's impact on Villarreal, because he said they're performing really well in La Liga. So I suppose there is a bit of a transition to Serie A, but from Serie A to La Liga. But they seem to be making a good impression, don't they? Two good players.
Yeah, well, they're two technical leagues, so I don't think that was the problem. The difference would be perhaps Serie A is slightly more physical, and they wouldn't be able to get away with the same sort of fouls. And the speed of the game might be slightly different, but technically speaking, they're gifted enough, and they're two, really, really good players. I'm surprised another Serie A club didn't get them. I suspect Villarreal probably offered a bit more money, and that's why they've gone there. But no, I'm glad they're doing really well, because they're two players I've always liked watching.
Yeah, same. I agree. And I'm a big Pate fan as well. He just needs to stay fit, doesn't he? That's the problem. But yeah, good win for Villarreal. And as Tom quite rightly says, 3 wins on the spin takes them up to 6th.
Very good performance. Last game we were going to highlight here is, oh dear, now, Tom's Espanyol. Well, it was probably going to happen anyway, wasn't it? But they entertained a certain Real Madrid, who are 16 games winning streak, I think now it is in La Liga.
I believe you are right, yes. I think I've read that somewhere as well. Rather fetching purple strip for this one as well. They ran out 2-0 winners, so yeah, unfortunate for Tom's boys that they couldn't pull out the victory, but they could be quite proud. I did actually watch this game, and I think they were quite unfortunate to not even get a goal in this game, to be perfectly honest. The key part of the game really was Sergio Ramos. Who'd have thought, eh? He shouldn't have been on the pitch in the last 30 minutes. He was committed a handball when he was on a yellow card. He blocked the shot deliberately, and Espanyol could have been 2-0 up by half-time. Casilla saving well from Baptistao, and a Perez cross that found the Brazilian in the box. Once again, he failed to score, and he headed it wide. So 2 really good chances. But it was that man James Rodriguez, or James Rodders, as I like to call him. He put Los Blancos in front, as we said, wearing purple on the evening. A well-struck shot from the across the former AC Milan and Real Madrid goalkeeper Diego Lopez. Karim Benzema, having missed a delightful spin shot, which is a brilliant save actually from Lopez. He then went on to get the second. Lovely little move actually, passing move inside, and Lucas Vasquez squared it, and in came Benzema with a low finish into the right-hand corner. So that was the victory for Real Madrid. Espanyol desperately need to get a win on the board, though, according to Tom. And looking at the table, I can kind of see why. 16th and falling, 2 draws and 2 defeats in the last 4. So, or from their first 4, I should say. So it's a little bit worrying for Espanyol, but I think from memory they brought in quite a few players in the summer. So still a bit of transition involved, I'm sure. And at the end of the day, a defeat at home to Real Madrid is not exactly embarrassing, is it, these days?
No, you'd hope to, if you're lucky, get a point, but I think most teams are expecting a one-way result there. So perfect start to the season for Madrid. Benzema back as well. Obviously,
they rotated, didn't they, heavily in this game?
Yes, very heavily rotated. A very interesting story actually about James Rodriguez this week. I suspect it's something more to do with Kia Jorchabian, who I know is something to do with his agent and that kind of thing. Apparently, he had his heart set on joining Inter Milan. I think he might be lying a little bit there, and I think someone might have told him to say that.
Yes, money. It's a rich man's world. Yes, I'm sure Inter would love him, but
yes,
yeah, I think there's a little bit of menace in that story somehow.
Yeah,
isn't he João Mario's agent as well?
Yes, he was the one who helped João Mario make the move, and the new owners purchased the club as well. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what he used to do with Rodriguez, but I think he knows him or is friends with him or something. So yeah,
calling shenanigans on that one. Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
Do you want to give us the rest of the results from the league?
I will indeed, yes. So, Leganés 1, Barcelona 5, back to winning ways, back to normal service of Barca. A couple of goals from Messi, one from Suarez, one from Neymar, one from Rafinha, one back for Gabriel, so that's comfortable for Barca. Atletico Madrid won, not a surprise, but they scored more than 1 goal. I know. They got 5 of the buggers, beating Sporting Gijón by 5-0. Anton Griezmann back in the goals, 2 for him. Kevin Gamero with the other. Fernando Torres with 2 goals, including a 90th minute penalty, so that's nice for them. Eibar 1, Sevilla 1. 2 red cards in that game for Eibar as well, so they'll see that as a point gain. Yoel and Danny Garcia sent off. Pedro Leon equalising a Luciano Vieto goal. He's on loan from Atletico, of course. Las Palmas, they just keep winning, don't they? Good grief, look at them. 1-0 victory over Malaga. Momo with the penalty after 10 minutes got the points. Osasuna 0, Vigo 0. Vigo looked to be in a bit of a mess this season. Alvaro Medran putting Valencia 1 up after 2 minutes, and then they fell apart with Aduriz getting both goals, and Athletic Club Bilbao win it by 2-1, and Valencia are a mess.
Oh, well, there you go, listeners. I do actually have a bit of La Liga news, if you don't have any.
You do that, and I'll do the table.
Yeah, okay. Well, apparently... Now, I've only heard this from a few people and certain journalists. I don't know if it's been reported in Spain, but apparently Mr. Simeone is going to be his last year at Atletico. And
yes.
He wants to return to Italy.
I did see this. Yeah, he's basically cut his contract by 2 years, isn't he? I think it expires in 2017, end of next season, or
yes, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. So I wonder what club he would like to go to. Frank de Boer, watch out.
I wonder, Inter. Yes, I wonder. Yeah, it does sort of. Or could he go full rogue and go AC Milan? That would be a bit of a.
Oh, he'd never do that.
No, I don't think
I can't
he would.
see that.
No, me neither. I'll give you a quick rundown of the table and say
sure.
Points at this stage is a bit pointless, but I'll give you the toe. Real Madrid and Barcelona are top 2. That's quite a surprise. Las Palmas, though, that is a surprise. They're joint with Barca in second on 9 points. Atletico are in the top 4. Sevilla, Villarreal, Eibar, Sporting Gijón, Bilbao and Alaves make up the top 10. Should say this table is currently with Deportivo involved in a 0-0 game with Alaves in play. So this could all change, so sorry. Valencia are bottom, played 4, lost 4, conceded 10, scored 5. Whoops. Vigo, Celta de Vigo, second bottom. Osasuna's third bottom. Granada, Espanyol and Malaga and Leganés are all looking over their shoulders a bit down the bottom. So that's where we stand right now.
Lovely jubbly. Well, I think that's it for I was about to say La Liga. Apologies, Tom, if we've got anything horribly wrong, and to our listeners as well. You feel free to berate us for it on Twitter.
Yes, Algeria was probably the best of the mistakes there. Yeah, whoopsie daisy. I blame the writing. I'm getting old. I can't see small fonts. Anyway, let's move on to another destination then, and it's your time to butcher a league, John, as we go to Germany and do a lovely fill-in with Drew's notes. It's this week's Bundesliga. Right, our thanks to Drew as always for providing his notes. John's going to do his very best to take us through. I'm sure, like me, John, you saw a few snippets of games from the Bundesliga this week, so I'm sure we can do our best to cobble our way through. Drew wants to start with Köln, or Cologne, whichever you prefer, and their 3-0 victory over Freiburg at the weekend. Good result this for Köln, who've been quietly sort of putting together a good start to their season. And, comprehensive victory over the newly promoted side.
Yeah, very good win. 2 goals for Anthony Modeste and 1 for Bittencourt. I must admit, I've only seen highlights of the games because I only watched one Bundesliga game this weekend. I'm sure you can all guess what one that is. I'll get to that in the roundup. But yeah, really, really good result. I have got Drew's notes here saying that things are working out really well under Peter Stoger in the 4-4-2 counter-attack system. Been excellent at the back, but the problem is, or he sees as a problem, is that other than Modeste, where else are they going to get goals from? Consistently, and how sustainable is this for the whole campaign? He sort of drawing comparisons to Hertha Berlin last season, but they are very, very tight at the back. They haven't conceded a goal yet in the opening 3 matches, so really good start for them. How long they can keep it going for, I don't know. Modeste will still get goals, obviously, but it's where are they going to create them from as well is a little bit of an issue that Drew sees coming up. Freiburg, yeah, not the best day for them. But yeah, really, really good result.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a whiff of a decent result that for Cologne. Anyway, let's move on. We're fast becoming the puns podcast. It's terrible, really. It's all my fault. Talk to you about Hamburg, and more specifically RB Leipzig, who obviously they've come up. We've gone through all the controversy. We've gone through all the people don't like them, etc. But take what you will from what people think of them. This is a comprehensive victory. They've won 2 of their first 3. They're flying, aren't they? And this was just a demolition job.
Yeah. I mean, I think Drew said himself, he tipped them to do well this season, and lots of people did, but I don't think anyone tipped them to start this well. Really impressive result. They're just honestly taking teams apart. 7 goals from 6 different sources. Like, they're just getting goals from all over the park. In this particular game, 2 from Timo Werner, 1 from Selke, and Forsberg as well with the other. So they're just finding goals from every position. That's really hard to deal with. I think people basically had them sort of mid-table, maybe possibly troubling Europa League spots. But the way they're playing, they've got a real chance of being in the top 3 this season. It's just unbelievable how quickly they've adapted to the league. So how long can they keep it going? This is the weird thing, and the other thing as well is they've got money. So if they did start to at any point have a little dip or struggle, then they can always reload again in January with more players. Just really, really good. Tom's favourites, Keita and Sabitzer, performing in the game. Timo Werner, who's obviously everyone I think knew about anyway, was excellent with the 2 goals. So I'm really excited to see how well they can do. I know in Germany, obviously, they're not liked at all. They really are despised. I'm not sure if it was Hamburg or another club. It might have been Hertha actually, but I know one of the teams had it was like a sort of sign going around the stadium saying homegrown club since, and it was 18, whatever it was, 100 and something odd years ago. Obviously, pointedly, making a point about RB Leipzig and how new they are and how it's sort of against the German potential, but just brilliant, really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And Davy Selke on the score sheet again as well. He's a player that I know people are keen to keep an eye on. And Emil Forsberg with a penalty in that game as well. And as you say, I mean, 3 wins, one of them over Dortmund as well. It's you can't knock it at the end of the day, whether it's money driven or not.
Yeah, Drew did say they have got a few little weaknesses at the back, which I've heard a few journalists talk about as well. And that's the one area they might get exploited, is they might concede some goals, but they just look capable of scoring all the time. So they might concede 2, but they can quite happily go and score 3. And when you've got that many different players who are capable of getting you a goal, it's a fantastic position to be in. Yeah,
agreed. Have they got Hinteregger back? I think they have, haven't they? Is it Hinteregger? No, it's not Hinteregger.
No, it's not Hinteregger. You're thinking of... Oh.
There's a guy I'm thinking of who I'm frantically looking up now. Klosterman, the young 20-year-old centre back. Yeah. Yes, there you go. And they got Marvin Comper, who I'm sure played for Fiorentina once upon a time.
Oh God!
Answers on a postcard. Yes, he did. I've just looked it up.
Oh, there we go.
I'm so sad. Anyway, let's move on to another game. And this one is Hertha 2, Schalke 0. Schalke fresh off of a midweek Europa League win at Nice, which was a good result for them, I have to say. But in the league, it didn't really go to plan again. And Schalke are really struggling in the league. They played 3, they've lost 3. It whiffs of familiarity once again. And as you say, 2-0 victory for Hertha. 2 very, very good goals as well. I have to say the tuck from the opener from Julian Schieber was superb. I did actually get to see this game, so luckily I can comment on that. And Valentin Stocker getting his first for the Hertha club, the Swiss international who's played for. Sorry, I say first of the season, I should say. He came from, of course, Basel a couple of seasons ago, so good goal for him as well. Good result for Hertha. But do you think the story, or has Drew put down that the story is more about Schalke in this game?
Yeah, I mean, again, Hertha starting this season like they did last, playing really, really well. I luckily, one of my friends actually has a season ticket at Hertha and flies over from England to go and watch them, and sent me some videos of the game. And the atmosphere is amazing there. It looks fantastic. I can't wait to get out to the Bundesliga to actually get a game live. Well-deserved win for them. But yeah, Schalke is such a strange club. As you say, the midweek result in the Europa League was really good, and was a bit of a surprise, I'll be honest, because you're never quite sure what you're going to get with Schalke. But yeah, Weinzel, it's not really working out for him right now. The problem is, like Drew's put in his notes here, that he thinks he's got the team selection wrong on a few occasions, and I think that's a fair point to make. But he seems like the right man to sort out the problems with the club. They're much like Inter, in that they are well established, they're famous, they're an old club, old name. You know, they've spent lots of money. And the squad just needs adjusting and being worked out, and the right people taken out and the new ones brought in, and kind of they've bought well. They've got players like Kolopianka in, they've got Max Meyer there, obviously come through the youth system. They've got good players, so he should be getting better results from this. Obviously not taking away from Hertha and their performance, they deserve the win, but it's not good enough right now for a club of that size. I personally, I wouldn't get rid of the manager. I know there's some talk about it already, which I think is a little bit ridiculous. The problem they've had for the last couple of seasons is them constantly pulling triggers on managers and getting new ones in. I think you need to stick with someone, keep a philosophy, and try and ride it out. And you have to ride out that rough patch. But yeah, Weinzel is certainly not above blame for some of the results. But yeah, good result for Dardai as well, obviously for Hertha.
Yeah, well done. They've definitely, as you say, on paper, you look at it, you just think, surely there's too many good players there, isn't there? Too many good players. And we have actually got a question on Bundesliga managers coming up in the question section, so we'll cover that question a little bit later on. But yeah, you've got to think there's too much quality in that in that department and that team. But we shall see. We shall see. What about other results and scorers from the rest of the Bundesliga weekend then?
Okay, Bayern Munich, nice and comfortable 3-1 win at home to Ingolstadt. That is the first goal that Bayern have conceded under Ancelotti, I believe. Another goal there for Lewandowski. Borussia Dortmund, well, just the casual 6 for them at home to Darmstadt.
As you do.
Yeah, just ridiculous. First goal for Emre Mor as well, I believe, in that game. He's first for the club. So good for him to get off the score sheet. Hoffenheim played out 0-0 to Wolfsburg. I don't know how Wolfsburg were all over them. Should have just hammered them. I think Draxler came closest hitting the crossbar in that one. Eintracht Frankfurt beat Leverkusen 2-1 at home. 2 Mexicans scoring in one game, which I think apparently is the first time it's ever happened in the Bundesliga, which I did not know. My lovely Gladbach getting a nice comfortable 4-1 win against Werder Bremen, who we'll talk about again in a minute. And that was all the results from this week's Bundesliga.
Lovely job. As I've actually got, we got some news, haven't we? The first firing of the season. It is indeed Werder Bremen's Victor Skripnik, which I'll get your views on in a second. Just before I do, we've had we've just been followed by a gentleman. Literally, this is live as it happens. A gentleman called Mitel Feldman. If you're listening, Mitel, hello, greetings. He's a Werder Bremen fan. I'm guessing he is German. And he's got a tweet. His last tweet is Skripnik is fired. Our team was paralysed. Skripnik is fired. Now our defence gets stabilised. Which is absolutely superb. So thank you. Your timing could not be better than to follow.
He's done our job for us as well.
He really has
just explained it. Yeah,
he has. Yeah, I mean that is exactly why Victor Skripnik has gone.
12 goals already conceded this season in 3 games.
Goodness me. I mean, they were a mess, absolute mess. And notwithstanding Serge Gnabry's first goal for Werder was an absolute corker. Do look that one up.
It was very good.
But yes, as you rightly say, John, Mitel has done our job for us. So thank you, Mitel. That was brilliant. And I'm going to retweet your tweet right now. So there it goes. Superb. Right, that's it for the Bundesliga then. Do you want to just give us the rough table? Again, just give people an idea where people are.
Yeah, sure. I'll get that there. Games to watch out for. We have a bit of midweek action. Drew's given us a couple. So you've got Bayern Hertha, which is obviously huge. That's first against second. And I'm not looking forward to this. Leipzig are hosting Gladbach as well midweek, which would be tough. And then weekend you've got Mainz, Leverkusen and Köln against Leipzig. But yeah, as for the table, Bayern top, Hertha second. As I said, RB Leipzig in third. Down at the bottom, Werder Bremen, Schalke. Just when you see those names, you really are amazed. Hamburg, Ingolstadt and Darmstadt are the bottom five.
What a mess. And before we move on, it would be completely unfair if I didn't give Tom's midweek nudge as well, because I completely forgot. Sorry, Tom. This is bad, isn't it? There's a couple of really big games in La Liga this week in midweek, so it is worth mentioning. Sevilla derby against Betis.
Oh, yeah.
Andy Brassel, friend of the show, his favourite derby in world football, I'm reliably informed. So do look that one up. Also, a small match of Barcelona Atletico Madrid on Wednesday.
Oh, that's nothing. Yeah,
just a quiet, timid affair. Real Madrid welcome Villarreal. There's usually quite a few goals in that game. And Valencia play Alaves on Thursday, which is a massive game for Valencia. And at the weekend, the highlight games, Atletico Madrid Deportivo, that's probably a big one. Espanyol Celta Vigo, scrap at the bottom. And also Eibar and Sociedad might be worth a look as well, in my opinion, on Saturday. So, sorry, Tom, I do apologise. Oh, and of course, Bilbao Sevilla, Saturday evening game. That one should be quite entertaining. So, there we go. A little trip back from Bundesliga, back to Spain, and then back to Bundesliga. Sorry about that.
That's quite all right.
Let's leave those two leagues behind then and shift gears to our final trip around the Big Four this week. We'll finish in France. Back to you, John. It's this week's Liga.
Right, on to this week's Liga. Let's get things going with the Liga leaders, Monaco, who are hosting Rennes. Did they keep up their winning ways?
They did, yeah. I picked this game out because I know a lot of people have asked me to pick out PSG because of Edinson Cavani deciding to turn up against a lesser side when the pressure's off. So well done, Edinson. But PSG won 6-0 on Friday night against Cannes, for those of you that don't know, and Cavani got 4 goals. So the pressure was on Monaco, who, playing on the Saturday, having played in the Champions League in midweek, of course, at Wembley, big pitch and all that, got a brilliant result against Spurs and came back and continued that feat. Radamel Falcao, remember him, El Tigre back on the score sheet once again, with a fine header for the opener for Monaco, and then it was kind of quiet for most of the game to the last minute when Tony Lamar, who always sounds like a East End boxing promoter, he popped up with 2 goals in the last minute and secured a very comfortable victory for that. Anyone that had over 2.5 goals and that would have been loving those last two goals in the last minute. So good result for Monaco. And as you rightly say, they are top of Liga. Played 5, won 4, drawn 1, scored 13, only conceded 4. For me, this is a bit of a bold shout, but for me, they're one of the most impressive sides in Europe right now. Just so organised, so disciplined. They've done some excellent business in the transfer market in the summer, and they look like a side that, obviously, they've got to keep this momentum running, but if they can keep the right players fit, if they can get a season out of Falcao, and if these youngsters continue to progress, I think we've got a serious title challenger, and I actually think they might even get out of the group in the Champions League as well.
Yeah, they do look very impressive right now, and as you say, I think as good as all the young players are, they will need the experience. And if Falcao, he looked quite good in the game. I think his movement's always been good, even when he had his poor form. It was just his finishing that let him down, but he looked more like the old Falcao in this game. A lot more dangerous in front of goal.
He's lost a yard of pace, but he hasn't lost that ability to finish, and it's just changing his style to fit. And when he's got the pace of Lemar and Dira, who's now injured, and Germain when he's up front as a partner, it's he'll never lose that knack to finish, like Fernando Torres. Really, he'll never lose the knack to finish. So good on him, I say.
Yeah, very good result for them, and long may they, not long may they stay at the top, but long may they keep it a title race anyway in Liga, because obviously the last couple of years it hasn't been too exciting to watch when it comes to the top of the table, at least anyway. Moving on to Bordeaux-Angers, a nice little 1-0 away win for Angers. Good result.
Yeah, really good result. A bit of a weird sort of game this because it didn't deliver the promise I thought it would. I thought it'd be a really, really good watch. It wasn't a bad watch, but it wasn't, incredible, to be fair. It was just sort of one of those games. Toko Kambi, who scored his first Liga goal last week for Angers, winner last week, winner this week. He got another one, beautiful goal, and once again impressing, and it's a really good result this for Angers away from home. Diego Roland's sent off late on for Bordeaux didn't help their cause, but I just think it's a really impressive result for Angers, who started the season. You looked at it, you thought 3 straight defeats. Is this going to be a seriously problematic season? And then they've just got two wins on the bounce, and their big players are starting to step up. Mangani was good. Capel was good. We know about Sheikh and Doy. Santa Maria in midfield was very decent as well. So I think that the coach, Moulin, has got them well drilled. He seems to be settled back into a bit more of a style. And it's good to see Angers doing well because they're one of those sort of underdog sides you just want to perform. Same can't be said of Bordeaux, unfortunately. They had all their big hitters out. Menez, Placille was back. They had Roland, obviously, until he got sent off. Malcolm, best name ever. And Adam Munas, the young starlet. They were all out, but just really failed to impress on the day. And I wanted more from Monaco. They dominated possession, but couldn't put the ball away. And yeah, I don't know what to make of Bordeaux because there's a lot there that suggests they could push for the European places, but it don't seem to be kicking into gear in any way, shape or form at the moment.
Not a good day for them. We shall move on to the last game to highlight. Now, this should have been, or was certainly, the standout fixture of the weekend anyway. Didn't quite live up to the expectations though, did it? Olympique Marseille against Olympique Lyonnais. Lots of trouble before the game as usual, and
Yep.
Although, to be fair, it was the Marseille fans smashing the opponent's bus rather than their own bus.
Yep, for a change, yeah.
which makes a difference. But, not quite so good on the pitch.
No. The Velodrome is always a beautiful arena to look at, and when the football's not the best, you can just sit back and go, "Oh, what a beautiful stadium!" So that's good. But no, it was a poor game overall. Lyon are badly missing their chief talisman in Alessandro Lacazette. They're also missing Fekir, who's obviously sort of back on the shelf at the moment with the injury. Their captain Maxime Gonalon was dismissed last week for that 2-footed challenge, which has subsequently got him a 4-game ban. So he was missing. It just never got going, this game. I really thought it would be a decent watch. I think I pulled out as my game of the week last week. So against my better judgment, because I was looking at others, but it was a bit of a bun fight and a bit of a overall dull game, and Lyon set up with a kind of a 3-5-2 formation, maybe setting out their stall. Had a slightly controversial goal ruled out for offside. Toliso's strike from distance ruled out for offside, despite the fact that he hit it from 20 yards. So it's quite weird to be offside that far out, but nevertheless the flag went up and it was disallowed. Marseille, it's hard to know. They're still a little bit transitionally, if that's even a word, but they have got some impressive players. I like Bruno Sarr. Clifton G is finding his feet as he's come back. They've got a lad called Zambo Anguissa, who's a Cameroonian international, who's, must admit, really impresses me. I'm not sure everyone's a fan, but he's kind of one of those deep-lying holding players. And him and Van Queer, who you'll remember from Roma, who signed on a free, have struck up quite the impressive partnership. And I think Anguissa is a sort of player who can drive them from midfield forwards, but they lack a centre forward for me. Gomes is Gomes. He'll get you the odd goal, but with all that pace behind, I just feel that they need a Batshuayi, funnily enough, and I can't help but feel that, if that takeover goes through in January, I would fully expect them to go out and invest in a striker who is open to debate. But 0-0, and I think Lyon will be happy with getting away without conceding and take a point. But yeah, it didn't really deliver in the end, unfortunately.
No, Marseille disappointing this season. Still down in 15th at the moment, so not great for them. Do you want to give us the rest of the results from this week's Liga?
I can indeed. So as you said, PSG opening up the weekend with a 6-0 victory. You mentioned Cavani's goals there. Also goals for Lucas Moura and Jean-Guivin Augustin, who we mentioned on this pod before. He got a late appearance and grabbed a goal. Nancy drew with Nantes. Point for Nantes, probably not not enough really, but it was they were actually in front of this game. Stupinski with a goal and Puyo with the equaliser for Nancy. Lorient got a win, hurrah! At long last, after 4 straight defeats, they beat Lille by a goal to nil. Benjamin Mukanju's penalty, getting all 3 points for Le Mulot, who recently found out this week, I don't know if I can put this in the news, but Benjamin Janot, the forward that I quite like actually, has been banned for 10 games. Pushing the referee.
Yes, I heard about this, yeah.
So that's not good for him, particularly when he's trying to battle for his place. So not good there, but a good win for Lorient. Dijon Metz kind of stank it up 0-0. Doucouré was sent off for Metz and they hung on for a point. Dijon actually missing a penalty in that game as well, which was unfortunate. Toulouse 2, Guingamp 1. Good result for Toulouse. Martin Braithwaite, another goal, more charity money. And Jimmy Dermaz, who you'll remember, I think was at Palermo from memory. I'm sure he played in Italy. Swedish player. He got the winner. Jimmy Brion got a penalty for Guingamp, and Janssen was sent off for Guingamp, which didn't help their task. 2 goals in a minute, by the way, for Toulouse winning that game. Montpellier and Nice, that ended in a 1-1 draw. Here's Belhanda with the first goal since starting for Nice, rescuing the away side after they've gone behind to Boudebouz's penalty. No goal for Mario, but never mind. St Etienne with a 1-0 victory in the last minute. They got a last-minute penalty from Roman Hamouma and get the victory over the Corsicans. Bastia, good result for them.
Now, before you give us the table quickly, I have a question about penalties, actually, because I think in the highlights for the Liga games that I watched from the weekend, there must have been at least 3 penalties given for what I can only describe as the most ridiculous handball calls I've ever seen in my life. Because every single one seemed to be a defender either blocking a shot or trying to clear a shot, and as they've done it, it's come off their chest onto their arm, which has been in a completely natural position, and the ref has just ignored that fact and just given it a penalty. Is that just a new rule in Liga, that is, if it hits your hand, that's it, penalty regardless?
Yes and no. Kind of. The referees have been given more of a license, or more of a sort of a wording to say yes, we do need to be, on the penalties. There does need to be a stronger rule. But I agree with you. I mean, the one in the Mets game that I was watching with Dijon, I mean, that was embarrassing. I mean, it was smashed straight out. In fact, to be fair, even the penalty that Lorient got.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty generous as well, to be honest. It
really was. I mean, it was smashed right at it, and he's turned away, and it hits his elbow as he's turned away. It's a really strange. I'm not complaining, nor a Lorient, but no, I thought it was extremely harsh. And as I say, the one in Metz as well, I can see why it was given, but the Dijon player is just running across the box, and he just kind of runs into him. So that one's obviously not a handball affair, but even that I thought was a dicey penalty. So. Yeah, I agree with you.
Just seemed to be a lot this weekend in particular. It just really stood out to me when I was watching the highlights.
Yeah, agreed. I think the one in St Etienne was the same. I think for me, you've either got to give them all, or you've got to give intent. And if the ball's to hand, then you've got to give it. If not, then yeah, you can't. I mean, it is. I suppose a new directive in that they're being a bit more strict, but they're strict, and then there's just balmy. So no, I'm with you on that one.
Seemed very harsh. Anyway, after that little sidebar, do you want to give us the sort of rough league standings and some games to look out for? Because I think there's midweek in Liga as well.
There is, yes. So, as we said, Monaco top, 13 points. They have 4 wins from their 5 games. Nice is currently second, point clear of PSG and Metz. Yes, Metz in fourth. Bordeaux, Toulouse, Guingamp, St Etienne, Lyon and Rennes make up the top 10. Down at the bottom, Lorient, oh dear. Still bottom. At least we got a win this week. But, 3 points from their 5 games played. Nancy, Nantes, I joined them in the bottom 3 with Lille, Dijon, Marseille and Caen looking over their shoulder. In fact, Angers and Montpellier and Bastia all tied on 6 points as well. So with Rennes sandwiching them in 10th. So it's all Constantinaed up all of a sudden. As for midweek action, we do have indeed midweek action. We have got Nice-Monaco is a highlight game, definitely. That is first versus second. So you expect a 0-0 stinker there. That's on Wednesday. You've also got Lyon hosting Montpellier, which should be worth a look. PSG host Dijon. I have a horrible feeling Dijon are going to get a paddling in that one. Metz Bordeaux, I'm going to have a little look at on Wednesday. It's a 6 o'clock game. And if you're a real hipster, Rennes Marseille might be worth a watch on Wednesday. And then as for next weekend's action, Toulouse PSG, Lorient, Lyon. That's going to be painful for me. And the one I'm going to keep an eye on probably is Nancy Nice on Sunday. So quite a few tasty fixtures to get your lips around or your eyes around, whichever you prefer. It's going to be a big week for Liga in the standings, I think.
Good stuff. And I think that's everything for Liga.
It is indeed, yes. We have a few questions, which we'll come back to in a minute, but we'll leave our little trips around our big four leagues behind, and we'll take a trip into a league of mystery as this week's best of the rest. Right, this week we've decided to go Brazilian. If you pardon the expression, we are going to have a look at what is going on in the Brazilian Serie A Championship because there's quite a few games been played there, 26 in fact. And the current standings, well, Palmeiras are the I'm surprised leaders, maybe slightly. They are top of the table, a point clear of Flamengo. In second, Atlético Mineiro, who Arsenal fans might remember was Gilberto Silva's old club. Santos, Neymar's former employers, are sitting fourth. Corinthians, famous old name, fifth. And Fluminense, equally so, in sixth. Looking down the table, you've got Botafogo, a name people might remember. They're sitting down in ninth. Grêmio, Andre Santos' former club, are 11th. Sao Paulo, who I'm sure everyone will know of, they're sitting 12th, certainly on the side of before. Cruzeiro, former champions, 15th. And Internacional and America Mineiro are down in the bottom division or bottom relegation zone. There's four places going down. It's a 20-team league. A couple of results from the weekend going back. Sao Paulo actually getting a victory over Cruzeiro. So a goal from I love this. The goal scorer in that game, the guy who won the game for them, was a guy called Wesley.
Fantastic!
It's just brilliant, isn't it? You know, it's Fred.
I like all the Brazilian kids that are called Lineker after Gary Lineker. It's wonderful.
Superb. It really is. You got Junior Urso got the winner for Atlético Mineiro as they beat Sporting Reclife by a 0-0. Corinthians were held by Coritiba. Leandro penalty goal equalising from Marione's goal for Corinthians. Botafogo lost at home to Santos. Zeca, that's a proper Brazilian name, isn't it? With a winner for Santos early on. America Mineral managed to pull out a point, having gone 2-0 down to Figueirense. Linson Dodo with the goals for Figueirense, and Jonas and Osman Jr. I don't know if that's Danny Osman or what, or maybe it's Leon Osman, I don't know, but he's a junior, and he got the equaliser for Mineirão. So that's the Brazilian Serie A Championship. Just a quick peek into Serie B, which, as you might have guessed, is the league below. A couple of big names down there. Vasco da Gama, who you'd probably be familiar with, they are actually top of the league, having been relegated previously. Bahia are fourth, they're a name people might know. Avaia, sixth. And then looking down the table, you might know of a team, John, by the name of Goiás.
Oh, yes.
Down in 15th out of 20. Wow. They're properly struggling. And the brilliantly named Joinville, which just always makes me chuckle. I don't know why, it's just Joinville. It just sounds like a garage of spare parts for cars. But yes, they're down second bottom. And Sampaio Correa, who sounds like a player who should be playing in Serie A. They're a team bottom of Serie B. So there you go, Brazilian football fans. That is how things stand in the Brasileiro, Serie A and Serie B. And as usual, if there is a league that you really want us to have a little dig into and let you know how it's getting on, just drop us a tweet and we'll do our very best to cover it. And we'll be back with another league next week. So there we go. Right, John. Shall we put somebody into our Hipsters Choice Hall of Fame, if you will? Should we do that? I think we should, shouldn't we?
Let's definitely do that. Yep.
Right then. So let's put one in. It is indeed this week's Hipsters Choice. Right, well, for this week's Hipsters Choice, we are going full hipster, proper full hipster. We're not going for a youngster this time. We're going for a man who's actually a little bit older. We're going to take a trip to the MLS this week, because this week's Hipsters Choice is New York Red Bulls' Sacha Kljestan. So what do we know about Sacha Kljestan? Well, as I say, he plays for New York Red Bulls. He's their number 16. He also represents the US men's national team, or the USA international side, whichever you prefer. He was born on September the 9th, 1986, making him aged 31. Proper hipster there. And he was born in, love this, Huntington Beach, California. Superb. He's 6'1" or 185 metres in old money, 68 kilograms, 149 pounds. He shoots at both feet, two-footed, doesn't actually describe anywhere which is his favoured foot, always a bonus. And he's a midfielder playing centrally, either in the deep line position or indeed in the number 10. He's comfortable with both. He's an Adidas client. He wears their Pure Control boots, which, if you don't know which ones those are, it's the same ones that Mesut Ozil Paul Pogba wears. There you go. He is Twitter verified. He's at Sacha Kljestan. He's Instagram verified, Sacha Kljestan. And you'll be able to find some highlights of him on YouTube, which we will post in the coming days on our Twitter feed. So what can we say? Well, it can't be said that Sacha Kljestan has had an easy career. From America to Belgium and back to America, the midfielder's had to fight doubters, skeptics since day one, but there's little doubting him now. Kljestan's career began in 2003 as a member of the college soccer side Seton Hall Pirates. Love that. Having been recruited by the legendary US coach Manny Schluckschleit. I probably said that really badly. During the Olympic training group, Manny identified in Sacha an ability to process information far quicker than his opponents and translate that information into his game to great effect. While under his charge at Seton Hall, Kljestan was awarded the Conference Offensive Player of the Year. That's a great award. I think I'd win that. In 2005, and helped the team to 3 consecutive NCAA tournament appearances. He still holds the record for the most assists in a season for Seton Hall with 15. Then manager of the Metro Stars, Bobby Bradley, saw something special in Kljestan, and the midfielder was invited to train with him on a number of occasions in 2006. And Bob Bradley moved to manage Chivas USA and picked Kljestan 5th overall in the 2006 MLS draft. In his maiden year with the club, Kljestan notched 7 assists in 32 appearances and went on to score 4 and set up 13 in his second season, despite making 7 less appearances. 2007 also marked his first call-up to the US men's national team. He elected to join the US Olympic team for the 2008 Beijing Games, where his performances began to earn him plaudits from across Europe. Celtic took the American on a short trial period in 2009, but he chose not to take up their offer. Instead, he chose to move to Europe, and he had a successful transfer to Belgian side Anderlecht. His Chivas career ended with 15 goals and 33 assists in 114 games. On the international stage, Kljestan, despite the number of goals and assists for his national side, was cut from the 2010 World Cup squad, a decision later described by his old Chivas USA teammate and US assistant manager Jesse Marsh as the most difficult moment of my coaching career. Despite this disappointment, Anderlecht gave Sacha a new lease of life. Both defensive and tactical sides of his game developed hugely over the course of his 5 years in Belgium, and his role for the team more befitted a box-to-box midfielder. He scored his first goal for the side in his first appearance, scoring the 3-1 win over Welsh outfit New Saints in the Champions League qualifier, and he quickly won the hearts of the locals, who dubbed him Mr. USA. He also struck up a long partnership in midfield with Lucas Biglia, who you'll know well, John, of Lazio.
Yes.
One of Kljestan's most famous moments as an Anderlecht player came in 2013 Champions League campaign, in which he mocked Zlatan Ibrahimovic for having a big nose. Look that up if you haven't seen it. He was, in fairness, retaliating after the Swede made fun of his moustache. Zlatan had the last laugh, though, as Kljestan was ultimately sent off in the final few minutes. Classic Zlatan. An emotional departure from Anderlecht in 2015 saw Mr. USA end his spell in Belgium with 25 goals and 180 appearances in a heartwarming pre-match ceremony in his final game against Zulte Waregem. Kljestan was coming home to join the New York Red Bulls, now managed by former teammate Jesse Marsh. In his first year back in America, he scored 9 goals and tied the all-time assist record set by this bloke called Thierry Henry, never heard of him, and Eduardo Hurtado with 14. And he also scored the winner in the MLS Supporters Shield game. This This year, Kris John has managed 8 goals in 32 appearances and has already broken the aforementioned assist records, having secured his 15th assist, just 15th, in a 2-2 draw with DC United in August. His impressive performances for the Red Bulls have seen him return to the US national team, which is now managed, of course, by Jurgen Klinsmann, and the acclaim of one of the best attacking midfielders in the MLS today. And finally, his strengths and weaknesses. Well, we mentioned, as I say, he's a very, very talented midfielder, playing in all the central midfield positions. Very gifted at number 10, plays with his head up, as we said before, both-footed, possesses a lovely cushion first touch, the ability to find a pass. He's very sort of Bergkamp-esque in his vision. Maybe not quite the level Dennis got to, but very similar in the way he passes the ball and the way he opens up defences. And he certainly takes a pretty mean free kick as well. So if you do YouTube him, you'll see a couple of those examples on there. Right. So that is Sacha Kljestan. Now, John, by your own admission, you're not the biggest sort of watcher of MLS, nor indeed of New York Red Bulls.
No, that would be true.
However, we of course had to find a question for you. So I just wanted to get your views on. We've seen a lot of big name players go to MLS, whether it be at the end of their careers or indeed to reignite their careers. And some big names, obviously from Serie A. We've talked like Pirlo and Giovinco. So my question to you is: do you think we'll get to a stage where players will actually transfer out of MLS that are still maybe at their peak, who could still do a job in Europe? Because Kris John is certainly one of those players that I still think could play at a pretty high level, even at 31.
I certainly think so. It's definitely possible. The problem that the MLS has in regards to attracting players from Europe and not the other way is that it's kind of seen as this is where I can go to retire, get some more money. Not that footballers tend to need that nowadays, get a nice little bumper payday and finish it out and sort of put my feet up. Recently the speed of the game in the league has really gone up, and Pirlo's come over and realised, actually, I need to actually put a bit of work in to play here. Obviously, on a technical level, there's very few people who can compare to him, but the actual pace of the game has really improved there, and as that then translates, you then get more players coming from Europe earlier, and then I think that also then improves the quality in the league, so that the youth players that come through from the American academy systems then have to be better footballers themselves, and the coaching has to improve. So I think you are more likely to see players coming from the MLS then into Europe. You've seen Jeff Cameron, is it, at Stoke? Came over, obviously. Yeah. Breck Shea had a trial, I think, with Arsenal and a couple other clubs in Europe.
Played for Stoke, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, so there are more. You are seeing it happening a bit more often, but I think as the quality in the league itself improves, then the youth talent and the academies and coaching, everything will go up a level, and then you will see that those players will go, not only do they feel good enough to then play in Europe, that it'll be another place for coaches to go and scout, because it is so hard to get hold of the best talent in Europe now, because it is so widely watched. South America's the same, that the MLS may be the next sort of star place to find young talent. It happened with African footballers, didn't it? If you think sort of maybe 20 years ago, Africa was sort of this place you go and you get young players, and it wasn't heavily scouted so much as it is now. So MLS may become that, certainly from the younger angle.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for fans of the Hipsters Choice, if indeed you are, we haven't forgot. We will be putting these on the website. We're just in the midst of sort of rebuilding some images, so stay tuned for that. But for fans of Hipsters Choice, we will be focusing on a few more players from MLS this season, because there is a couple of really talented young players. There's one in particular playing for Vancouver Whitecaps, whose name completely escapes me. I'll have to look it up. Who's just 15 years of age. That is, and to look at him, you wouldn't think he was 15. I have to stress that. He is a big old lad, or young lad, as I should say. But
that's the thing. Whilst America may not have the greatest technical coaches, what they do have experience in is training very, very good athletes from all ages,
sprinters and such like.
Yeah, so they're very good at that. So if they can take that side of their coaching ability and improve on the technical side of things, then there'll be some really exciting players in that league.
Yeah, absolutely. Alphonso Davies, he's a Liberian player, 15 years of age. Incredible. Born, this will make you sick, John, 2nd of November 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah. just wrong. 6 appearances. So there you go. We of course know a Canadian, so we'll have to get him to scout him for us. But yes, we will be focusing on some more MLS players in the future, so do stay tuned. And as I say, that is Sasha Klestion, another one into the Hipsters Choice Hall of Fame locker. Right then, John, just the one segment for us to go then, and let's see what the lovely people have been saying to us this week. It's a final segment. It's this week's Onion Bag. Right then, so the Onion Bag. Let's see what questions we've got coming into the bag this week then, John. We've got quite a few, so let's pick out some of the best. Thank you to you all for sending these in. Right, let's start with. Should we start with a Serie A question? Because naturally, we've got to ask you since you're on. So let's start with this one from Dan. Dan_AFC90. Outside of Lafont and Donnarumma, who of course Lafont plays for Toulouse, if you didn't know already. Which up-and-coming keepers do you expect to shine this season? I'm going to give it to you because Serie A, you've already mentioned one tonight that I think might have a big season in Mathieu Perrin. So maybe just focus on him. What do you know of him? What can you tell people about him?
Yeah, he's obviously he's been around for a while, Perrin, and obviously at Genoa, but he's got into the Italian national team a bit more often. I think the problem he's got is that you have Gigi Buffon in front of you, and then you have this young kid who, in Donnarumma, who obviously is the next Buffon, as they're already calling him, who is a fantastic goalkeeper for his age. So he may end up being the one who's sort of overlooked and doesn't get his chance at international level, sadly, because Donnarumma will probably come in after Buffon. It wouldn't surprise me or anyone else, I don't think. But he had an amazing game at the weekend, and he's a very good, consistent keeper. As for young goalkeepers, there are some in Serie, but none of them really stand out. Donnarumma is the obvious one, but Mathieu Perrin, yeah, he's had a great start to the season, and he's always been a goalkeeper I like. The one that's kind of disappointed that never quite worked out was Neto, who was linked with the Premier League for quite a few different clubs. I always really liked him. I thought he was a great goalkeeper, but never quite worked out for him. Maybe he'll move and find another club and see if he can get back to some of the form he was in previously.
Yeah, he could play when Fiorentina went to Juve for a bit, didn't he? I think. Yeah, interesting.
He still is. At Juventus. Yeah, but obviously you're not gonna get in front of Gigi.
Nope, you're really not. As for Liga, obviously Lafont is the one that Dan's mentioned there. I'd also give Alphonse Areola a nod. On loan at Villarreal last season was hugely impressive, and he's played the Champions League game against Arsenal for PSG. And I've gone on record as saying I think he'll end up in goal ahead of Kevin Trapp by the end of the season. I think he's a hugely impressive young goalkeeper, and we expect to see quite a lot from him this season. I don't know of any in the Bundesliga off the top of my head. That might be one for Drew. There is somebody that's on my mind. I can't think who it is. So if I think of it, I'll come back to that. But and in Spain, Kiko Casilla at Real Madrid. I don't know how old he actually is, but he's one that I've always sort of quite liked the look of as a goalkeeper. But again, that's probably one for Tom for the young goalkeepers to pick out. So there you go. In fact, even the Atletico Madrid keeper, he's not exactly old, is he? I think he's only what's he? Oblak, 23.
Oblak, yeah, he's very young. Yeah.
So it's probably another one to keep an eye on. So good question, that Dan. Always like a good goalkeeping question. Thank you very much. Let's move on to another one then. Janzev Shaheen. John Felipe Anderson looks more impressive this season on the right, but is this the role of Cataldi the reason behind it?
That is a good question. It's interesting because they've changed the system slightly at Lazio now. They're playing with two up front rather than one, obviously. Brain's gone blank. Miroslav Klose, has gone from the team, so now we're playing with that one focal point striker. He's also being asked now, Anderson, to work back a lot more, which I think is possibly why it's highlighting how good he's playing, because he's playing more of a wing-back role. But yeah, Cadaldi's a really good player who we didn't see much of last season. He's still very young. He's one of the sort of upcoming stars in the under-21 team for Italy. Very good on the ball, and can see the passes. And when you've got someone with that kind of vision in midfield, and Anderson making that run, those runs in from wide into the box, you're going to get the service. Last season, Lazio just weren't particularly great. They had lots of problems at the back. and Closer was, very, very old. This year round, they've got Immobile and Djordjevic to play up front, so that stretches defence as well, which makes more space for Felipe Anderson. The other good thing as well is, as good as he was playing with Candreva and the sort of the dovetailing that they could play together, it did also sometimes mean that Anderson didn't get as much of the ball, because it was kind of give Candreva the ball because he's the senior man, he's the one who probably should have been made captain, and we want everything to go through him, so he gets to show off a little bit more now.
Yeah, I do love Candreva on the side note, but
yeah, Cataldi is a really, really good player. He's really, really good to watch. They've got some really good young players, as always at Lazio. But him and Milinkovic-Savic, great to watch in midfield together.
Yeah, another one I like, Milinkovic-Savic, another good one. Couple for me, I have, let's have a look. This one comes from Jimmy, actually, good friend, NN Guna, Mr. at NN_Guna. My question is simple. Nicolas Toussaint, is he the real deal? Good question, Jimmy. Probably not yet. Bit too early to say. For those of you who don't know, Lucas Toussaint, is the Lyon midfielder. He's 19 years of age. He's another one off of this production line. French under-20 international, hugely impressive for the under-19s as well. He's very, very good. There's no denying. He looks like a player who's going to break through. He plays in that defensive midfield position, but has the ability to Santi Cazorla it, if you will. Likes to pick up the ball deep and use it and drive forward and sort of pick a pass. I do think he's going to be very, very good. He's got the perfect man in Maxime Gonalons to learn from in training and to sort of absorb. But too much too soon, probably. The pressure is huge when you're a Lyon player when you break through. So I'd like to see him just sort of play a couple of games before we start saying, is he the real deal? So definitely a name to watch, but not quite the real deal yet for me. You can do your best with this one, John. From Josh, Real Josh Daw. What's being made of Alexandre Pato playing for the Yellow Submarine via Real? Does he have a chance of getting back into the Brazil squad?
I really don't know. That's a really tough one. I'm very excited by it. I really like Pato. I think he's always been a very good player. He's only... God, how old is he? 25 still? 26?
I think he's 26. I'll look it up.
Yeah, he's not very... I mean, he's not really old, is he? He's been around forever, it seems. I really like him. I think he's a great player. The problem he's had is just injuries, and that has been it. The forward line for Brazil now, though, is so tough to get into. You think if you saw anything from the Olympics... Obviously, you've got Neymar, first pick, is always going to play. You've got Gabriel Jesus, who's a young player, but he's going to Man City. You'll see him from January. If he performs anything like he did in the Olympics, he's obviously going to be starting as well. Then you've got Gabigol, who's gone to Inter, who's just started training now and should be in the team soon. So the competition is really fierce, as it always is generally, to get into the starting lineup for Brazil. The one thing I would say is, though, none of those players are necessarily out-and-out strikers. And to be fair, Pato maybe isn't either, but he's got the ability to do it, certainly. So if he can keep himself fit, I definitely think he's got a chance. I'd love to see him back on the international stage as well. I just think he's a brilliant footballer. I was really disappointed when he left Serie A and all the injury problems he's had. So I hope it works out for him, because I certainly like to see him playing again.
Yeah, same. I echo those comments, definitely. Another couple of French questions. I'll get through these. John Seb also wanted to ask about Adebayor. Is he a must in capitals for Lyon in this current moment? Cornet seems to be more suited on the left. Adebayor is still lethal. Well, it sounds like that deal is off, John Seb, because basically Adebayor said he wants to play for Togo in the African Cup of Nations in January, and Lyon said, that's lovely, thanks very much, we won't be buying you then, bye-bye. So it sounds like that's not going to happen. I think Lyon wanted a bit more of a commitment from him. Who'd have thought that Adebayor wouldn't be committed to the cause for somebody? It's strange, I know. But it looks like at time of recording that one is not going to happen. But as with everything in football, these things change quickly. Matt Spiro, in fact, tweeting on September the 17th, was that 2 days ago, after flying from Togo to sign for Lyon on Friday, Emmanuel Adebayor has been told by coach Bruno Genesio, I don't want you.
So,
well,
yeah,
that's pretty conclusive.
That's pretty damning, I would suggest. But I'm sure some five-a-side team will pick him up somewhere. This is a great question, actually. I could talk about this for hours, but I'll keep it brief. PG Nez, at PG_Nez, by far one of my most favourite people on Twitter. He says, in hindsight, I say he or she, I think it's a he. In hindsight, would it have been better for Hatem Ben Arfa to have joined Lyon this summer? Yes, absolutely yes, PG. This is a really interesting story. For those who don't know, obviously Hatem Ben Arfa was absolutely brilliant for Nice last season. A complete new lease of life under Claude Puel, the new Southampton manager, of course, at Nice. He was reborn. He was enjoying his football. And the key thing is he was playing in a free role. Not the role you eat, by the way. He managed to trim down. He was playing in that free role, the number 10, and basically just given license with Valère Germain, whose movement was always brilliant for Nice up front. He was just able to break the lines, cut in. He wasn't asked to defend. He really wasn't asked to work hard, but he generally did work hard just by making his own space. And he was absolutely fantastic for Nice. And the question that everybody asks is, side of PSG, where's he going to play? And the trouble is he's been played in completely the wrong position by Unai Emery, who is already kind of making noises about the fact that he doesn't work hard enough when he plays. And, that's a surefire sign that a player might not last very long. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this being a 1 year and done. He's not a centre forward. He can't play up front. He's not a wide man. He is a number 10. And when you've got the likes of sort of Marco Verratti breaking from midfield, Blaise Matuidi breaking from midfield, there isn't room for a player like Ben Arfa and a player like Di Maria. So, and of course Lucas Moura, who's been very decent at times this season. So I think Hatem's days at PSG might not last very long. And yes, he would have been absolutely perfect at Lyon. And it's a shame that didn't happen. Great question. Another one for you, John. This one comes from Jakob Clausen, who I think is a new name. I haven't seen that before. He's a 3D artist, by the way. So greetings, Jakob. He wants to know, in the Bundesliga, after Skripnik's firing, who do you think the next trainer will be to leave? Do teams panic too fast?
Oh,
loaded question, isn't it?
That's definitely one more for Drew than me. I really wouldn't know, honestly, off the top of my head. I know Weinzel's name obviously was being chucked around because of Schalke and where they are in the league at the moment. I don't think that will happen. As for who it could be, your guess is as good as mine. Honestly, with that one, what I would say is give Drew a tweet and he will definitely be able to answer for you. As to do people panic too quickly, I think I don't like the way football has gone in recent years and the fact that they are so quick to fire someone. The problem is that the vast amounts of money that's involved now in football, that if you don't pull the trigger and get someone in and turn things around quick enough, it can go from, our season where we thought we might finish in a European spot, now we're only going to finish 12th or 13th, can suddenly become, oh no, we're going to get relegated, this is going to cost us so much money. And it's not just the money that you don't win that you were sort of budgeting for winning, it's also the money that you've got to continue to pay out in wages and everything else, which is why I think teams generally tend to panic a little bit quicker. There is also a bit of a trend that's starting to happen now, in that when managers sign contracts, there is sort of like us normal common folk have a probationary period when you get a new job, where you don't have to necessarily be given a certain amount of time's notice when you get fired. A lot of managers now have a period where if it's within a certain amount of months from when they've started at a club, if they do get fired, the compensation, they don't have to pay them out their full contract. They only have to pay them out a small amount. So, for example, if De Boer had been sacked by Inter, talk was that he would have only been paid 1.5 million euros. Now, obviously, that's still a lot of money, but compared to what they would pay out if it was his full contract, that saves Inter a lot of money. And a lot of clubs are doing that now as well. So, I think it just does come down to that, to be perfectly honest. It's not a nice way for football to go, but it's just a fact of the modern game now.
Yeah, good answer. I'll answer it for you if you like, because I've got a name on my hit list, and I agree with everything you said about the hiring and firing. By the way, Bruno Labbadia at Hamburg.
Oh yes, yeah. No,
I think he's under massive pressure, not just because he's doing a job with his hands tied behind his back, but they are a big club
and I don't think that their supporters will take another season like last season. And I think if they're still in a position where they are now, or in and around the bottom three within, say, I reckon 10 to 12 games, I think there might be a change there. So that's the one I would go for. I also think Roger Schmidt is under a bit of pressure at Leverkusen.
Yes, they haven't had the best start, have they?
No, poor start, chucking away a 2-goal lead in Europe. He's done a brilliant job. I think he's a superb manager, but I think Leverkusen looked at this season as an opportunity to really push on, and 11th isn't exactly pushing on, albeit 3 games gone. But yeah, good question that. Thank you very much to our listener there, Jakob. Thank you, Jakob. Right, couple more. Let's make these quick answers so we can wrap this one up then, John. Serie A, why is Paredes being left out of Roma's side each week? He makes a good effort every time he's played. That's from Shakaresk.
Well, he's not being left out every week, to be fair. He played against Pleasant. I think he played against... No, he didn't play against Cagliari. He played against Porto. So he's being rotated between him and De Rossi at the moment. I think, honestly, it depends on the opponent, but it will be De Rossi in for one game, Paredes in for another. The simple fact is he's a very good player, and I really do like him. I don't disagree with anything you said there about his effort and his ability, but the first 2 names down are going to be Strootman and Nainggolan every week, and then it's a toss-up between him and De Rossi, and depending on the opponent, they'll choose appropriately. Occasionally, he's also more likely to come in against a team where they are slightly more defensive. Roma, which obviously is not something they tend to do. They do like to sit, but they like to counter-attack and have some serious pace in the team. So if they play a 4-2-3-1, he'll play, but most of the time they're playing 4-3-3, and that suits De Rossi a little bit better. But he'll still get game time. Just I understand the question, just not as much as perhaps he'd like to see him.
Fair point. Jansev asked another question. How long till we see Ganso playing week in, week out for Sevilla? Seems perfect in the Sampaoli system as a controller. I'll take that one. I think it'll be soon, Jansev. I do. I think Sampaoli likes him. He's obviously brought him over from Brazil. Paulo Higi Ganso, as Tim Vickery of the BBC is a massive fan of Ganso. The guy's got so much natural ability. He's just never quite kicked in. Injuries have been a big factor. He was the golden boy in Brazilian football before Neymar. It's hard to believe now with the way their careers have gone. But yeah, I think he's a hugely talented footballer. If he can stay fit and get a run of games, I think he'll get into the Sevilla side fairly soon. I think he'll make a really big impression. I hope so, because as you say, as a controller, like you say, as a 10, I think he'd be absolutely brilliant in that system. So I hope so. Emmanuel Davila. At Emmanuel C. Davila, do you think Liga has a chance of keeping their young, talented players to make the league more competitive? Quick answers to that one, Emmanuel. No. Unfortunately not. Liga is always a proving ground for young talent. Unfortunately, unless you're PSG or to a lesser degree Monaco or maybe Marseille, if they actually get taken over, the money is too good to turn down for these clubs, and as soon as they've got a talented player, they inevitably go. So unfortunately I can't see it unless the league gets a very large cash injection, which it doesn't seem like it's going to be. Unfortunately, Liga will always be the ginger stepchild of the big 4 leagues, sadly. It's just the way it is. That's why I watch it, probably, because I like to stick to the underdogs. 2 more, and they both come from Janzeb, actually. So we can have one each, John. The one from me is Leon. Should they stick to this 3 at the back system when Lacazette and Fekir return? Straight answer to that one is no. For me, they go 4-3-3. So that's that one done. And the final question you can have, John. With the return of Muto, can Marley, he loves Eunice Marley, push his game on to another level this season for Mainz, I believe he's talking about there. So, yeah, are you a fan of the Marley?
Yeah, I do like Marley. I know Joseph always talks about him, doesn't he?
He's got it's a stalker thing now,
yeah.
Isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah, no, I think he can push on a little bit. The Mainz are one of those teams who you always have a sneaky feeling they're going to do a little bit better than maybe they should. And Marley is one of those players who will definitely help with that. So in short, as I know we're trying to get ahead of time here because we're running over a little bit. Yes, I think he will. But Janzeb, seriously, stop asking questions about Marley. It's getting worrying.
It is, yeah. We'll have to have him escorted from the training ground at some point. man taken away in the bushes, like pants around ankles. But thank you, Junzo, for your continued support.
It's like you and Lacazette or Fekir, I suppose, Chris, the same thing.
Oh, I don't even think it. I think he's worse. I worry about the man, seriously. We will wrap the questions up there. Then I do just want to give a quick nod to Korosh Masavi, who tweeted in German for us earlier on. Top bloke, Korosh. Actually, always gives us some really good feedback, and he popped out a tweet in our favour to his followers earlier on, just simply saying in German. I'm going to try this, Korosh. This will be fun.
Oh dear.
Was ich für die Ligen in England Interessat sollt sich häufiger die Zeit nehmen, which with chips is quite nice, I gather. No, it loosely translates as those who are interested in the leagues around England should take a look at this, which is the English Breakfast podcast, which is a nice little plug, which is what myself and Ross do every Sunday night. We released it a bit late today, so I do apologise. I had things come up last night, but normally released on a Sunday night / Monday morning. It's myself and Ross Bramble talking through the weekend's Premier League and EFL action. We do cover the Championship and Leagues 1 and 2, which I know a lot of other podcasts overlook. Or Ross is very into his Championship football in particular, so we do go down the leagues. So if you don't know a lot about the Championship and below, and you like your Premier League chat, then do tune into the English Breakfast every Sunday. It's a good chatter. A little bit less time than this one as well, because there's a little bit less to cover. So do tune in, and thank you, Korosh. We do appreciate that.
Best thing about that podcast, of course, is it's in English, and Chris doesn't try to do a German accent.
That is also very, very good, and I think even Ross would say the same. And it is with Ross that we kind of end this podcast, because I want to say thank you to Ross, who stepped in at very short notice today to help me with the Sasha question write-up. So thank you ever so much, Ross. I know I've said this to you in person, but massive thanks to you for stepping in. And again, as usual, thank you to Kelly and to Kat and to Var for their work behind the scenes. Kelly's had a lot of work crop up all of a sudden this week, so she frantically messaged me and said, I can't do the notes for question, can you help? So I turned to Ross, and he was there in my hour of need. So thank you, Ross, we appreciate that. Right, John, before we go, SoundCloud. I obviously, when people listen to this, hopefully, if this has all gone according to plan, they'll be able to listen to it on SoundCloud as of now. But
yes.
just let our listeners know what we're doing.
Yes, I know we said before, we've mentioned it a couple of times, but we'll be coming to you on SoundCloud very soon. Fingers crossed, some of you will be listening to this episode on SoundCloud. But yeah, you will be able to find us. We will just be the Football Hipsters podcast. I believe the name's exactly the same as it is for our Twitter, isn't it, Chris? I think the account name?
I believe it is, yeah. I'm pretty sure I set it up that way.
Yeah, so we'll have all that sorted, but we'll tweet out all the relevant links and everything else, but we'll still be in the same places, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, all those kind of things, on our website, obviously, as well. But yeah, we'll be coming to SoundCloud as well. Should be hopefully be able to catch this one on there. If not from the next episode, we definitely will be, but it should be going out tonight, hopefully.
Absolutely. And two other projects that I have to bring to your attention. Next week, tease this on the English Breakfast. Next week in the UK, and I think around the world, there's not a very well-known video game that I think is being released. I think it's called FIFA. A few of you might have heard of it. Obviously, it's a very, very popular game around the world, and lots of people have PlayStations and Xboxes. And we thought, what better way to get people talking to people they might not normally talk to by essentially sharing gamer tags. So if you are a man or lady who owns a PlayStation or an Xbox and you are going to be purchasing FIFA, drop us a tweet or a DM or whatever it is you want to do. Send us an email, as our friend Chris did last week. And if you are happy, we will put your gamer tag on our website, and then anyone that wants to interact with other people around the world, they can log in, add them as friends, and hopefully we can play a bit. We might even set up a league. I know Josh Dorr is listening to this podcast, and he's done the ABW one for us previously, so maybe Josh can sort something out for us. It's a bit beyond my technical capabilities to do these sorts of things, but if anyone wants an easy 5-0 victory, play me online, and that's a fairly easy win for you. But do keep an eye out for that. And the other thing to promote is
any of you aspiring bloggers or podcasters, get in touch. Specifically by DM, we want these because we are going to start interviewing some of you lovely people. So if you are somebody who wants to write for us, if you want to do a couple of blogs, we are looking to get the blogs going this year on our website. So if you've got a subject that's close to your heart, that involves the top 4 leagues in Europe, or indeed something English if you prefer, then we will publish your work. We do obviously prefer people that have bit of confidence in writing and a comfortable writing in English would be great for us, but we're happy to edit the basics for you and we'll publish your work. And also, if you're a good speaker and you've got something you want to talk about, or even if you just want to tell us about your passion for football, how you got into football, how you follow the club you support, do drop us a DM at the FH Podcast. And if you've got a headset and a nice bit of Wi-Fi or an Ethernet connection, then we will get in touch with you in the coming months, and I might well be interviewing you, and your voice will be heard on this very show. So drop us a line, and we will see if we can make that happen. Right, John, that's it for me and you. Yet another podcast for us done. I know, a bit like that, isn't it? No Satchel this week, thank God. But we'll be back on. We'll be back on the podcast again this time next week. Hopefully, Tom will be back with us. Myself and Ross will be back on Sunday. And yes, thank you very much for joining me as usual tonight.
No worries, mate.
Right, well, that has been the Football Hipsters podcast. 2 of the Football Hipsters podcast, anyway. Keep your beer strong and your glasses trendy. Enjoy your football. Keep in touch with the midweek action, and we will speak to you very soon.